It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That, of course, was Seek and Destroy. It's Raven from the All For One release. And on the line right now is a true legend, a guy that has basically filled my collection with music, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think, seeing the bands that he built and promoted and put up, and I've bought all the records, and I really am, this is bucket list for me. It is an honor to speak with the author of the new book, Heavy Tales, The Metal, the Music, and the Madness. It is the legend himself, Mr. Jonny Z. Johnny, how are you, sir?
How do I follow that, man?
Well,
how do I follow that? Oh, boy, I better give you some good answers today, huh?
I guess. Well, Johnny, I figured I would tell you a quick story because I know you're going to tell me some stories. I want to tell you a really quick story. So
go ahead.
When I was I think 13 years old, I guess. I'm from Ohio. And I used to go to CW Post College every summer for baseball camp. My family sent me to baseball camp up there. They had like the Mets and the Yankees and stuff. Well, I had a little record store here in Kent, Ohio called Spinmore Records, and they used to have the underground fanzines. And every fanzine I ever read talked about rock and roll heaven, rock and roll heaven. You got to go there. That's where everything happens, is at rock and roll heaven. So on the way out of the college after the course, the teaching, I convinced my dad to drive out to rock and roll heaven. And I got to go there, and my dad hated it, of course, because he was like into like Slim Whitman and shit like that. But I was kid in a candy store looking at all the different stuff that you had. And I remember I didn't know what to buy. And the guy at the counter said, "Here, why don't you buy this? You'll like it. I guarantee it." And it was Raven's All For One. And that guy was you selling it to me when I was like a 13-year-old kid, man. So you started me, man. You literally started my metal journey.
I'm the original vampire.
You are, man. Well, Johnny, obviously you have this great new book, Heavy Tales, The Metal, the Music, and the Madness, and it is certainly a great book. It's a great read, and for anybody, I don't necessarily even think that you have to be a fan of Metallica or Testament or Overkill or all the various bands that you mention and talk about in the book. I think it's just, if it's nothing else, it's a great story about having a vision and sticking to it all the way to the end. And you were able to take that vision that you had and turn it into, literally a world-changing thing.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
Well, talk about those old days, Johnny, because talk about when, because, I mean, obviously at the time that you decided to venture into promoting heavy music and forming your label and all those different things, that was definitely not the norm. I mean, hair metal was just starting to hit, and we were more of like the Eagles than we were of Metallica. So talk about how difficult that was to, not only start, but then to convince people that, hey, this heavy music has real value.
Before you could convince somebody to play a song on the radio, there has to be metal radio.
Right.
And there wasn't any in it. There were 6 stations in the country, and they played metal from 11 to 1 or 12 to 1 or 2 to 3, weird hours of Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I had to work under those conditions. Not only can you not get the bands on the radio, you certainly, if you ever had a video, couldn't get that on MTV.
Right.
But you couldn't even get the bands to play in the venues, in the clubs, because everything was cover bands.
Right.
Everything was AC/DC and Van Halen and who knows what. And basically I had to give DJs money.
Right.
To play an Anthrax record, or to play a Raven record, or to play a Metallica record. And when I played it, the audience just stood there and said, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
But somehow, you know, Twisted Sister would be playing in that club, and I would get Metallica to open up the Twisted Sister, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Now,
and from that it grew. It was a wonderful thing. But there was no TV. I mean, no internet, no cell phones, no Facebook, no social media.
right.
You know, everything you did was word of mouth, posters, ads in newspapers, buying ads on radio, on stations that don't play heavy metal. They didn't even think about it.
Sure.
But you put your ads on it, you know?
Yeah. And
And
the unique thing about that time, Johnny, was that you not only had to do all of that work, but in addition to that work, a lot of times, and I'll point to myself as an example, you were introducing people to music. It wasn't like there was even a fan base. I mean, there was nobody that was out there listening for something as heavy as Metallica was. You know, people thought heavy was Van Halen.
You had Motorhead fans, you had Black Sabbath fans, you had Rush fans, and then you had Iron Maiden fans.
Right.
You had and then came the Angelwick fans, and the Raven fans, and the Jaguar fans, and these fans, and the Tigers of Pantang, and Riot. You know, it all just kept on coming, and I had them all. So if you bought something for me on Friday, you could come back next Saturday or Sunday or Friday. I'd have a new one for you, better than the last one.
Right.
Because the metal was so good in those days. Now, I didn't sell everything I listened to.
Okay.
I had records in the store. I just had them if you wanted them, but I would tell you, don't buy them. They suck.
Right.
You know, I would tell people, man, that has a great cover, but that's a piece of shit. And it's funny that these bands are still big today because they just simply existed back then in the 80s.
Sure. Oh no, you're right on it. And you know what else is interesting is considering how hard it was for the metal bands to get out there. You know, specifically the bands that you worked with. They're almost all still in business today, and they're still successful today. Anthrax, Metallica, Overkill, Testament, Raven, they're all still out there, and they're still strong. So whatever it was that you heard that everybody else didn't hear, it was something that was not, you know, just the trend or the flavor of the week.
No, and, you know, the metal fan is the loyalist music fan there is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a metal fan or metalhead, the odds are your children are going to grow up listening to it and understanding it. And their children will grow up and understand it and love it. Because it's not background music, it's foreground music. It's music to think about, to listen to respond to physically.
Right.
You know, how many musics do you respond to physically?
Yeah, true.
You know, so it's the music I love, and it's the music that we broke in America back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, Johnny, I don't want to say your claim to fame, because if to say that really limits everything that you did, but I mean, certainly you're known as the guy that broke Metallica. When you look back at that, did you really feel like they were destined for the amazing success that they've gone on to have? Or did you just think they were really, really good at the time and weren't sure where that was going to go from there?
No. I used to tell people they're the next Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
I used to boast about that. And you know what? If you knew your music and you listened to it, you felt it too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell that band. If you knew music and you were into metal and you listened to Metallica, you knew this band was destined for greatness from the very beginning. Everybody felt it. You know, you just knew it was different. This was the stuff. You're going to be a fan of this band till you die.
Right. What was that? Was that based solely on the music, or was part of that once you got to know the guys and learned the drive that Lars had and learned the drive that James had, to keep pushing the envelope and keep being great?
Well, we did everything that was not cliche.
Mm-hmm.
If it was done before, we wouldn't do it. If
Right.
we expected it, we didn't do it. We always hit from the left side and the right side, but never down the middle,
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was it just worked. It worked because, I was able to get them the exposure, and I had a big hype machine going, but they were bigger than the hype.
Right.
And when something's bigger than the hype, it's going to explode. That's how it happens.
Okay.
Jane's Addiction, you name it. Bigger than the hype, it explodes.
Right. No, you're right. Now, Johnny, what did you think of Megadeth when you first heard it? Because I'm sure you were well aware of, Mustaine's, history with Metallica as well as his disgust with them at the time. What was your first thought when you heard, the first things that you heard of Megadeth?
I thought it was really great, but I thought it was really different than Metallica.
Right.
And Megadeth was signed by another label at a very early stage in their career, while things were really not in good shape between Dave and me.
Okay.
So Megadeth really didn't have a chance, even though I did go to L.A. to talk to Dave. Megadeth never really had a chance to be on Megaforce Records.
Right. Okay. That makes
No
sense.
No regrets.
Sure.
I have no regrets about Megadeth.
Sure. No, I hear you. Well, since you mentioned Megaforce, let's talk about that, because much like when you were simply promoting music, you went the extra mile and you formed Megaforce, which again, you had to learn everything from scratch. How did a guy that basically, owned a record store, how did you learn all the things that you needed to learn in order to build such a successful, independent label in such a fast, in such a quick amount of time?
Well, you have to realize I have two partners,
Okay.
Marsha, my wife, and God.
Okay.
And between the two of them, found the answers to all this. I didn't know it was God at the time. I just thought it was that voice that was just never ending, giving me the answers and giving me advice and telling me what to do.
Sure.
But I realized later on what had gone on when I realized how blessed I was, and I started to count my blessings, and they were infinite. So anyway, I don't know what the question is. What's the question again?
Just how did you learn? There's so many things that are involved with it.
By the seat of my pants.
Okay.
By the seat of my pants. It was all common sense. It was all chess. I'm a chess player. I'm a very good chess player. And it was trying to think 6 moves ahead.
Right.
All the time. If you weren't at least 4 moves ahead, don't move.
Right. Makes sense. Well, Johnny, I'm curious, what did you think of guys that followed you or, came out after you doing a similar thing? Brian Slagle or Roadrunner or Century Media. Did you look at them as competition? Did you look at them as just good for heavy metal at large, or what?
Well, Brian Slagle was there, I think, before me.
Okay.
All right, but he was putting out demos. I was putting out albums in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
That was the difference. And I was providing heavy-duty dollar marketing. And don't ask me where the money came from, because I have no idea. But the other labels that came out, I wished them the best. If they were helping promote metal and support metal, it was all fine. I can't have it all. I'm not Midas. I'm John Zazula. I was lucky just to be doing this. I was having fun.
Right.
I was enjoying myself. I didn't care. I just didn't care. I did what I thought was important for metal, what was important for my family. Didn't even come first. It was metal, metal, metal.
Right. Very good. Well, while we're talking about Megaforce, in addition to the bands that you launched, there's at least one guy, business guy that you obviously had some influence on. I'm curious of your thoughts of Eddie Trunk, since he obviously got his start there as well.
I love Ed Trunk so much. I gave him his own little piece of the book. It's
Right.
a part of the book called Ed Trunk.
Right.
And I love Ed Trunk. We didn't even like the same music, but he heard my head. He understood what I liked, and he knew what would work in my world. And Ed brought me Ace Frehley, of course, and we had much success with Ace.
Sure.
With Frehley's comment, Ace himself. So, Ed Trunk, the best story I tell is about Ed when he became the vice president. Not even the fact that he was the first person in America to play Metallica on the radio when he had a radio station. But I used to make Ed go to New York when I made him vice president to take the meetings at Atlantic Records with the big shots there, the real big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt in order for him to represent me and the company, he needed a suit and a tie.
Okay.
So I gave him my credit card. I said, go to Macy's, find yourself the most beautiful suit and tie and get a few shirts and get ready because you're going down to Atlantic Records represented that way. And Ed looked at me like, Johnny, man, you bastard. Because I walk around like a derelict all the time in my jeans and T-shirts,
Right.
And he just thought that I was being a real hypocrite. But that's my great story about it, because he was so pissed at me, man. You had to see his face when I gave him that credit card and told him to wear a suit.
Very nice. I know you have to take some pride in the fact that, obviously Metallica are considered the biggest metal band pretty much of all time. And Eddie Trunk.
How about the biggest band of all time?
Well, they
biggest
are.
Band of all time.
They really are. And at this moment anyway, and for the last 10 years or whatever, Eddie Trunk has been the biggest mouthpiece for heavy metal, at least for at least a decade. So it's amazing that you spawned different avenues of this that have way outlived the early days of Megaforce.
Well, some of our team went on to become fantastic video companies.
Okay.
Some of our team went to become graphic companies. Two of our people became managers of Wycliffe John and stuff like that. And, oh, my God, we had some major success. Missy Collazo now runs Megaforce, owns Megaforce.
Sure.
And good people. We had a band of all-stars working at what I call Never Never Land.
Right. You definitely did. Well, Johnny, you've obviously seen so many bands, and obviously a lot of them that were, we could rattle off the names, have had success. For you, looking back, who was the band that you just swore up and down were going to be huge and just didn't explode or didn't have the success that you thought they would?
Well, that's both Raven and T.T. Quick.
Okay.
Raven outsold Metallica for quite a while.
Right.
And for the biggest band on Megaforce Records in the beginning.
Okay.
And T.T. Quick were my great radio hope, but I got so betrayed when I put that album out, as discussed in the book. I really got bushwhacked, and the poor band got buried because of it. It's very sad. But T.T. Quick made a great album, Medal of Honor, which should have been huge.
Sure.
Not thrash, but boy, it's great metal.
Mm-hmm. Do you see Mark doing his thing with Accept today, and have some pride for that Accept, another legendary band, gets to carry on because you kind of launched another guy's career?
I have to say something to you. Mark Canillo's career with Accept has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to take credit for it.
Well, sure.
I will tell you this. The man is brilliant. The man's a great singer. When T.T. Quick were an AC/DC cover band, pretty much, Mark did Bon Scott, you thought he was there.
Wow.
You thought he was in the room with you. unbelievable, and he's doing a great job with Accept. And I take, again, no credit, but I'm very proud of him.
Sure.
And I feel good when I see these things. It makes my heart feel good.
Absolutely, man. Well, Johnny, all these years, however many years it's been now, and you've been able to have what almost anybody wishes they could have, and 99% of us do not, which is to be able to have the successful career doing exactly what you want, and at the same time you were able to do that with your wife and not end up divorced. How in the world were you able to maneuver that where you're, almost 24/7, you're with the wife and you're doing the thing that you love? Because those elements never seem to work for most people.
Just remember, I'll say this to all husbands around, she's always right.
Is that a true statement,
right.
or is that just what you tell her?
It's a true statement, man. I fight from here to hell about things if I want.
Sure.
But what's the sense? It ain't worth it, man. Sure, you're right. You're right, sweetheart. And you know something? She is plenty of times. I'll tell you that, my Marsha.
Right.
She's right about a lot of things. When I didn't know the answer to that crazy question you asked way back, how did you know?
Mm-hmm.
Marsha knew.
Sure.
And when I was 6 months behind in the bills because I was paying for Metallica and Anthrax and Merciful Fate and Manowar, she said, okay, let's see how we could get out of it. Let's work together to make it work. And so I was very blessed, again, to have a wife like that.
Sure.
Many don't. Many of the men out there don't have wives like that.
Right.
Always busting their balls,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. As a divorcee, I certainly know.
Absolutely.
Certainly.
Women and men are just cats and dogs.
Right. Well, it definitely sounds like you. It definitely sounds like you found the right one for you, man.
Oh, God, was I blessed! Unbelievable, and 3 beautiful children. 5 grandchildren. It's a wonderful world.
Sure. Now, Johnny. Obviously, at this point, you have the new book. It's called Heavy Tales: The Metal, the Music, and the Madness. Why now? Why did you decide to write it? Is it something that you've wanted to do for a long time and just hadn't done, or what pushed you to put the pen to paper, so to speak?
Well, Chris, I wanted to write a book for a long time, but I didn't know if I could. It wasn't until I met a fellow named Harold Claros Maldonado, who does research work and could write, that I felt confident and comfortable enough to do it because he gave me my timeline.
Okay.
He did the research that enabled me to tell the stories. I have to be honest with you. I don't remember what album came first.
Right.
Merciful Fate, Manowar, or Raven, Live at the Inferno. I don't know which one. Or Exciter. Which one came first?
Right.
Anthrax. Did Anthrax come out second? I think it did.
Right.
So I have a discography. When you see the discography at the end of the book, it'll blow your mind that we did, when I say we, just a few of us. It's so much in such a short time. It's a miracle. It's crazy. It's batshit crazy is what it is.
Right. Well,
I have an interview on 5.
Johnny, for you, do you ever take the time, and I know this is big thought and most people don't do this when they look at their own work, but do you ever look, like you just said, you have that list at the back of the book that shows all those titles. Do you ever look at that and think, my God, there are 1 billion copies of these records across this world right now that literally 100 million people probably have been influenced by solely because of your work. I mean, that's such a big thing to look at, you know?
You know, I don't look at it that way. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy that I did it. I'm amazed that I did it. I had to write the book maybe to contain it all, to keep track of it.
Right.
Because I was forgetting it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's basically it. I'm just proud that I did it. And I'm happy that Marsha now is being accepted as the co-founder of Megaforce, not some woman that just stayed under my desk and gave me blowjobs all the time, which is what people really used to be like, you know, when they used to see a woman in the metal business.
Right.
Very rare. You know, I don't say that to belittle women. Don't believe me. I'm the whole opposite side of the spectrum, but that's how men used to be. Mm-hmm. And it's good to see Marsha riding the wave and getting the recognition that she so deserved. You know what I mean, Chris?
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, the interesting thing for people that know your history is this is not a new thing for you. You know, as long as I've been hearing the legacy of Jonny Z, it's always been Johnny and Martha. But you know, it's great that she is getting that credit as well, because it's, you know, she did have a lot of input in it. And, you know, some of the stories that you tell in the book, or a lot of the stories that you tell in the book, make it very clear that it was not just you, that it was a tag team effort on everything that you did.
Right.
Jonny, obviously the new book, it is called Heavy Tales, the metal, the music, the madness. People need to get this book if you're any kind of a fan of metal. So, Jonny, why don't you pick a song for us to go out of the interview with?
Blood and Iron, Overkill.
All right. That's a good one, man. So let's check it out right now. It's Blood and Iron. It is Overkill, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.